What's going on, everybody? Let's start with this one.
I want to let everyone know about this video sponsor, me, and no ad reads like the one says in the description.
6 signs you want to.
They're a counter to this. Even if you don't, I would appreciate how to respond to this if you can think of any.
So I was doing a little Googling and this popped up. Palestinian children tortured used as shields by Israel, UN. And this is from Reuters, by the way. The UN was...
Good evening, VG. I hope that you are doing great tonight. Check out the news Dr. Avi broke earlier today that had me in tears LMFAO.
I'll take a look at that in a minute. Thanks for the donation. So, first of all, the UN isn't a reliable source. So, saying, oh, this is coming from the UN, they're not a reliable source.
Was accusing Israel of using Palestinian children as human shields and informants. Israeli soldiers had to use Palestinian children to enter dangerous...
This is ridiculous. So the accusation is Palestinian children used as informants. 14 such cases have been reported between January 2010 and March 2013. Israeli soldiers had used Palestinian children to enter potentially dangerous buildings before them and to stand in front of military vehicles to deter stone throwing. That is nowhere near close to what Hamas does, where they will force people to stand on the rooftops of buildings that are marked for airstrikes and artillery strikes. So using the term human shield is just a misnomer here. It's an entirely different fucking situation.
buildings before them and to make them stand in front of military vehicles to deter stone throwing. In this report, there's only one set of soldiers who got in trouble for forcing a 9-year-old to search a bag suspected of containing explosives. They received a suspended sentence of 3 months and were demoted. Some of this article points out that
you can find,
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling a bit better today. My energy's been pretty bad. For whatever reason, I've just been super sleepy. Like, I only just woke up a few hours ago. But other than that, you know, can't complain. Thanks for that donation, though, James. You can find isolated instances of, you know, law breaking or malpractice or, you know, something in any military. Like, what is this proof of? This isn't proof that the Israeli military is inherently bad or evil. You can find this sort of behavior in any fucking military force That doesn't mean this is the normal matter of course.
That Palestinian children are arrested and accused of having thrown stones, which carries a penalty of up to 20 years in prison. And then I found this article. The use of civilians as human...
Okay, this is just fucking bullshit. Don't care. Bill Cosby joins Hamas so feminists will stop condemning him for rape. Yep. It's obviously a joke, but...
Any new Frank vids?
I think there might be some new Frank vids. I'll check in a minute. Thanks for the donation, James. Yeah, Left Wing is fucking trying to make it seem as though Hamas isn't raping women. It's fucking retarded. Gamer Boy donated $2. First time benching, just benched 185, 168-pound body weight. My lifting buddy said that it's uncommon for first timer to bench that, although I shaked a lot and my arms wiggled. Yeah, that's a pretty good bench for benching the first time. That is pretty uncommon. Thanks for the donation though, Gamer Boy. Appreciate it and congratulations. He only has a few shorts. Let's see.
Granted, you have corrected your diet. There are three main reasons you could still be experiencing gut issues. One is that you aren't taking probiotics, or that the probiotics in your diet are not adequate. You have to have properly made live bacterial cultures from high quality sources such as water kefir and raw yogurt. Two is that you have a nutritional deficiency. Most common ones that affect digestion are B vitamins and certain minerals like zinc. Getting a hair mineral analysis and the correct blood work can point you in the right direction. Third is that you're simply overeating.
Probiotics rarely ever positively affect digestion.
How could these SJWs defend someone as evil as Hamas? I thought they cared about social justice.
Because they're fucking retarded. Thanks for the donation though, Dodo.
When you eat too much food, Candida overgrows and it can be very difficult to balance your gut bacteria. There's also a lot of stress.
Like, practically nobody has Candida overgrowth. Frank thinks Candida overgrowth is like a normal thing that people have. It's not. If you have Candida overgrowth, you probably have something like a compromised immune system. You're on cancer meds, something like that.
Gargle, gargle, gargle. Gargle. Gargle, gargle, gargle.
Incoming reports stating that this could be the first video showing Hamas terrorists being flushed out the tunnels below Gaza by Israeli pumping seawater into the tunnels. Can anyone confirm which language is being heard around 11? Well,
If only you could
that's cool. That's real. Thanks for the donation, Hamas militant.
on vitamin stores and digestive organs to process the extra food. If you guys would like to learn more, you can check out my YouTube, Frank Tufano, as well as frank-tufano.com.
Well, that was boring.
Bring your own healthy kitchen and fridge with you everywhere. So you're at an event, whether it's for the holidays, family get-together, there are some choices that are obviously way healthier than others, but the knowledge required to truly understand what goes into every food is above and beyond most people, and definitely far from conventional wisdom, what most people think is healthy. To keep it simple, and it sounds weird, red meat and grains, particularly bread, rice, potatoes, will have the least amount of negative things.
Red meat and grains, and then he mentions a potato. Potato isn't a grain. And red meat is practically the worst food you can possibly eat.
Things in them. By doing that, you're avoiding processed dairy products, higher fat foods with unfavorable fatty acid ratios, vegetable seed oils, and high anti-nutrient vegetables that are typically sprayed with a lot of herbicides and pesticides. So if there's steak and mashed potatoes, prime rib, some rice, even bread, you can have that with minimal negative health effects.
Why is no one talking about the price of a bag of chips.
You know what's really crazy? Those Lay's potato chips cost the same as my homemade Amish chips, which cost me at least 10 times more to make. At least. It's so cheap for these companies to manufacture those junk foods in mass that are poisoning you. And I'm here breaking even, trying to provide a healthy product, yet I'm shadow banned and censored. So these are going to go bad in a week, and I'm going to have to throw them out. It's absolutely comical world we are.
Hello Mr. Gaines and chat. I'm doing an art project about animals' appearances in art throughout history, and I'm including some vegan propaganda at the end. Anyone know of contemporary works depicting animal rights or welfare? Thanks Mr. Gaines and chat.
Bansky. Yeah, the artist Bansky has had a number of art projects supporting animal welfare, so I'd look for that. Thanks for the donation, though, Josh. Appreciate it. Yeah, Frank's potato chips are worse than store-bought chips because he uses coconut oil.
Does Frank sell fruits and veggies on his website?
Technically, he does, because he does sell pickled and fermented fruits and vegetables, so technically, yes. Thanks for the donation, James.
We are living in. These are the only chips you can find fried in organic oil with no chemicals, no preservatives. The only ones that exist. A healthy saturated fat. We're going to have the beef fat chips back in a few weeks as well on Frankie's Serene.
Ew, he's making potato chips fried in beef fat. Dude, that's fucking disgusting. How the hell did he get the idea that that's healthy for you?
React to this.
More than a dozen attorneys general have signed on to a threatening letter against journalists covering the war in Gaza. Now, Fox News Digital says that the prosecutors signed on to a letter that was sent to media outlets, including the New York Times, Reuters.
Does it count as losing your virginity if it's to a hooker your friends set up behind your back?
Yes, that still counts. Thanks for the donation, Unknown.
CNN and AP News, and basically put them on notice that providing material support to Hamas is illegal. Now, none of these organizations there's been no indication that any of these news organizations have provided material support to Hamas. What does that even mean? But the letter was sent to these four organizations, and I'm gonna read you a few excerpts from it. So this was sent to them on Monday afternoon, and it included 14 state attorneys general. And they stated that, look, if your reporting appears to be providing any support for a terrorist group like Hamas, well, you could face prosecution. Think about it. They write, quote, "We will continue to follow your reporting to ensure that your organizations do not violate any federal or state laws by giving material support to terrorists abroad. Now your organizations are on notice. Follow the..."
Good. Journalists should be held accountable, and they shouldn't be supporting terrorist organizations. So, you know, like Kyle Kalinske fucking making it seem as though Hamas didn't commit like a mass murder and fucking mass rapes and shit, and just denies the October 7th attack, essentially. They should be prosecuted.
The law. Wow. So the AGs continue to define what material support would mean. And that would include any property, tangible or intangible, or service, including currency or monetary instruments, expert advice or assistance, communications equipment, facilities and transportation, except medicine or religious materials. So what if, let's say, the New York Times is trying to do reporting from Gaza. They're not allowed to be on the ground in Gaza, but they want to interview, I don't know, a Hamas militant, because Hamas is part of this story. Hamas is part of this ongoing war. What if in an effort to do, let's say, an on-air interview, they send them a camera? Would they be prosecuted for doing that? I mean, that would be communications equipment, no, Jake?
Yeah, no, this law is crazy in so many different ways. Not only equipment, they say if you get advice from someone we will later call Hamas or affiliated with Hamas, or even once took a picture with someone who's in Hamas, then we're gonna criminally prosecute you.
That's insane.
No. Like, there's even issues with aid organizations giving support to Hamas. So, yeah, I don't think that's terribly unreasonable.
Our current food system is set up for cheap, profitable food, and that translates directly to a lack in quality. You can make every single food item at a Thanksgiving table healthy. Calorie count is not what dictates health. It's the quality of the food. Is it free of toxins and chemicals? Does it have natural fatty acid ratios? Was the animal raised in a healthy way?
I heard Hamas is hiring Jason Blaha for mercenary work to finally defeat the Jews.
Well, that would make sense. He does hate Jews after all. Thanks for the donation though, Leo.
That is unconstitutional muzzling of free speech.
The way it was defined, it doesn't seem like it.
I had some horror stories from rescues with rabbits. No, it's like.
Another instance where Trump is telling the truth about his intentions for the presidency if he were to win hypothetically.
We'll take a look at that in a minute. Thanks for the donation, bend over. Yeah, the way it was defined by giving material support to Hamas, I don't think that is muzzling of free speech. Thanks for the donation, though, James.
He says, "You're not going to be a dictator, are you?" I said, "No, no, no, other than day one." We love this guy. He says, "You're not going to be a dictator, are you?" I said, "No, no, no, other than day one." We love this guy.
Whatever.
Or were the grains grown in healthy soil? It's an expense most people aren't willing to venture. A corn and soy-free turkey versus a supermarket turkey at less than half the price. And this applies to
Specking of support to Hamas.
Hamas needs to be taken out. It is a terrorist organization.
How would you do that?
But I think the way to do that, as many terrorism experts have said, is to create a durable and strong coalition of allies within the Middle East, with the United States.
The clothes look good, and Frank.
I think clothes automatically look worse when Frank wears them. Thanks for the donation, though, James.
With Israel, to make sure that we have a long-term political solution, that there is an alternative to Hamas to lead in Gaza and to establish a state for Palestinians. This is, I mean,
This woman is a fucking retard. So she's saying, oh, we need to give Palestinians other democratic means, or another democratic choice other than Hamas. Hamas won't allow for any democratic elections. So what the fuck good is that gonna do? This woman's a fucking moron.
we have to condemn what Hamas did on October 7th. We cannot allow for 15,000 Palestinians to date to have been killed.
Even as
Oh yeah, we can't allow for that. What an idiot.
any single dish. If you invest the time in researching in ingredients and invest money in your health, you'll have something that isn't poisoning your body.
I can't even fucking hear what Frank's saying, or I don't understand what he's trying to say. Turmeric can poison.
Yeah, that's a pretty quick way to destroy your liver with flavonoids and carotene.
Flavonoids and beta-carotene does not harm your liver.
And the reason you might feel good doing these juices is because you're literally overloading your body. It's an inflammatory reaction.
Those are literally anti-inflammatory.
In some cases, it's excitation from all the vitamins in this. And you should never, ever, ever be consuming turmeric or cayenne pepper in these amounts. And it's honestly even questionable to use them as a seasoning on your food. This is going to give you liver damage.
Show us the research, Frank. I know you can't show it.
You're going to feel good doing it until your liver becomes overloaded. And then when your liver...
Yes, that's why Indian people who use that on their food constantly all day all have destroyed livers. Oh wait, they don't.
becomes overloaded, you're already years and years of damage down the line. I'm genuinely surprised there aren't like class action lawsuits against people who started these turmeric or cayenne pepper trends. I'm sure those people who grow those products have made so much money at the expense.
Like, you have entire nations of people who eat these foods in their daily cooking all the time. Like, cayenne pepper that's used in Indian food and Thai food all the fucking time. Same with turmeric, you know, like, where is all the fucking liver damage in these countries? I don't know where he gets these stupid ideas. Shim donated $2, please debunk.
This is how plant-based ground beef is made. You take some soy protein concentrate.
Does Impossible Foods even use soy? Okay, yeah, they do use soy protein. I think it's the Beyond Burger that doesn't.
Sunflower oil, soy leg hemoglobin. Then you add some methyl cellulose, which is basically sawdust. And this
It's not sawdust.
is how real ground beef is made. I've got some grass-fed, grass-finished, regeneratively raised beef from a cow that I actually helped with the slaughter of. I take a grinder,
Oh, so you're a murderer.
and out comes real, fresh ground beef, full of
Yes, full of cancer-causing agents, saturated fat, cholesterol, and it's going to lower your life expectancy.
nutrients, bioavailable vitamins and minerals, no garbage, no seed oils, no soy leg hemoglobin, no soy protein concentrate. That is just nutrient-dense food for humans. That's how real ground beef.
What is there to debunk here?
You might not think about frying an egg in a stainless steel pan until now.
Start off by preheating your pan over medium-high heat. Now add some water after a
I don't care. I don't care about anything.
look for that innocent, angelic, sweet white girl is actually dreaming all night long about that dark chocolate.
My family does really get into like fancy talk.
They'll have extensive conversations about cheese.
People that are less argumentative, people that are more agreeable with you, people that may agree with you politically.
Do you have racial preferences when dating?
No. She has a preference, 100%. She prefers white girls and Hispanic girls.
It would look like it does, but I don't.
What about your partner?
Yeah, black women. My dating preference is black, for sure.
Is this the first time you dated a black woman?
No, I ain't new to this.
And I got ass that move white girls like there's coke up my ass crack. Move black girls, cause man, fuck it, I'll do either. I love pussy, I love bitches, dude, I should be running, Peter.
Sexual adventure and a little bit of spice. If she wants to be rebellious against her parents.
I learn a new cheese every time I go to Connecticut.
So why in the world would a non-black woman choose a black successful man who makes less money than her white counterparts? What would be the reason?
I guess her had been stretched out in a while. So being I was doing all the stretching, it's like my starting to get numb.
The fourth sign that a white girl is going to be sexually attracted to brown and black guys and want to hook up with you is that you got to consider that race might not be much of a factor at all. Because scientific studies have shown that...
All right, we are entering into some dangerous territory today. I cast a wide net in terms of people that watch my content. I have fans from a variety of different spectrums and belief systems and experiences, and all of them are going to be pissed at something.
Let us resurrect the animal and let it kill that one man.
Just one? Think they can kill more than one, but thanks for the donation, James.
And I say, in this video. And normally I would look at that as a good thing, but I don't know. I may just be fucked up. This might be it. This might.
Have you seen these?
Let me see.
爱的会先有期待，天会晴，阳光在手指间。
That's good. That dog likes to boogie. Thanks for that donation, Elaine. Jasmine Wilder has gonorrhea. Donate Tiller's thoughts.
Vegetables are just it's nothing. There's nothing in there. Sure, there's maybe 5 grams of carbs and a big ass handful of broccoli. The micronutrients and whatnot, taking my vitamins makes me
Yeah, so there's phytonutrients, there are vitamins and minerals that you are getting from vegetables, and you are getting fiber, which is massively important. All those things are very important for longevity.
a bit more complete in my diet. Because hypothetically, you eat the exact perfect diet, you hit every macro and micronutrient, you get all your zinc, you're eating some potatoes so you get your potassium, some red meat for your iron. I mean, it definitely wouldn't hurt you. Definitely seeing some pretty solid results from my method. Vegetables are just
This is coming from a guy who eats like a fucking box of Krispy Kreme donuts a day.
The club is an invention of Satan. Poker machines, Satan. Drugs, Satan. Alcoholism, Satan. Gambling, Satan. All Satan. Oh, he's very cunning. Listen, please, I beg you. Satan attacks in two ways. He is known to be the snake, and he is known to be a lion. These are the two ways he attacks, no more, no less, either in a form of a snake or in a form of a lion. What is a snake? Well, the snake is very sneaky. You do not hear the sound of the snake until you either step on it or you get very close to it when it's within the snake's reach to bite and poison. But beforehand, you don't see, you don't hear, and you think it is all you're doing. So Satan, at the beginning, he will come and put a nice thought in your head, and he'll make it sound and look that there is nothing wrong.
Why are you sending me this? Okay, well, Sam Sulik doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. Vegetables make you live longer. Like, if you have an interest in living longer, eat vegetables.
Might be it. We'll see. We shall see. Unless you've been hiding under a rock, you've probably become aware of America's next big it couple, international pop star Taylor Swift and all-pro tight end, Super Bowl champion, and future Hall of Famer Travis Kelce. You can tell that I'm much more of a football fan than the Swifties. They're Swifties. Isn't that a broom? You know what? There's no reason for me to antagonize Taylor Swift fans for this video. I'm gonna have enough smoke on me as it is. We might edit that out. The question though is, how many of you are aware of the girl that came before Taylor Swift? Or the girl Thank you for that, B. Appreciate the donation.
I will not be able to talk with any of
girl that came before that, or the girl that came before that. Travis Kelce had tons of fans among black women in the last few years because it was obvious that Kelce was a fan of them, but also because he's definitely a good-looking guy, or at least he used to be. See, earlier in the summer, a lot of black women were shocked to see Travis go from A, shouty what it is, to license and registration, please. And I remember making the joke privately that this meant that he must have found him a white girlfriend, and lo and behold, I was right. Aesthetics go a long way in dictating who you attract. I made a joke on a podcast a while back regarding the I date white woman haircut, which the joke was basically that you can.
Shim Donatillers, why the fuck you Witties stealing, or Whitey stealing our bitches? I'm being dead serious.
White male, Asian female is improbably the most common interracial couple. They are a quarter of all interracial marriages, despite Asian women being only 8% of married women. They almost outnumber.
That guy's video is annoying. Hey Jasmine, can you give me my sweater, please? Thanks.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, that's something that would be difficult for me too.
Even though Seattle does have a pretty high concentration of Asians, I've also noticed it has the highest concentration of interracial couples that are Asian girls and white guys. So like, if you ever go into like downtown Bellevue and you see an Asian girl, right, there's always a skinny white guy next to her. So like, I don't know what it is, but like every interracial couple, it really seems like 99% of the interracial couples where one person's Asian, one person's non-Asian, it's always like the girl's Asian and the guy is like usually white.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much one thing is like, you would think that like
Asian women are super into white dudes. Don't know why.
Attracts like, but just absolutely not the case here in Seattle. Even though
Anyway.
You can kind of tell whether or not a black man is exclusively seeking out black women based on how he keeps his hair, and there's some patterns.
No, roaming millennial is not hot. She looks like a fucking potato.
That developed there. Look, it just is what it is, and the same thing can be said for a white man, hence Travis Kelce switching up his style around the time when he must have started dating Taylor Swift. It's not universal, of course, but it is a thing. Some people got offended, but fuck those people, because they're not really gonna like this video at all, so they might as well just check out now. Despite being a relatively rare cultural phenomenon, the issue of interracial dating is incredibly prominent in our media, and that's not just a product of modern algorithms feeding these images to us. It's something that has been around for generations now. And in response to the attention that this phenomenon gets, there's always a ton of political discourse and conversation occurring on the topic of interracial relationships, race mixing, dating out, miscegenation, whatever word you might want to use. And if you couldn't tell from the movies being used here, in this video, I'm specifically talking about interracial relationships featuring at least one black person and more than likely one white person. This is not to exclude other people's experiences with interracial relationships, but for the purposes of this video, the focus is going to be solely on how this specific social phenomenon affects black people and the way we experience, see, and are seen in the world. Anything with black people is inherently political. Being black is inherently political. But with interracial relationships, I think there's a genuine lack of understanding on the complexity of the politics for this topic. As much as I feel like I've heard about this topic for my entire life, I've seldom felt like I heard something that was well thought out or well researched or a depthful analysis of the phenomenon. So since this is a topic that has hounded me recently for reasons I'll get to later, I figured now would be a good time to do a lighter, fun video on an issue that I won't say doesn't get enough attention, but maybe not the right type of attention. Don't worry too much though, even though this is possibly a heavier topic.
Detonators, do you think quantum computers will solve the P versus NP problem?
Is it possible to invent a computer that computes anything in a flash? Or do problems exist that would stump even the most powerful computers imaginable? How complex is too complex for computation? These questions are central to a fascinating conundrum.
I have no idea. I'm not watching this video, but I have no idea. Thanks for the donation though, Dodo.
I've done a lot of heavy shit recently, and I wanted to have some fun with this one, so let's jump into the first major section.
Chapter 1, a hard conversation about slavery and...
In slavery, black men and women were viewed as subhuman property, as well as hypersexual and animalistic. Our body parts were at times literally dissected and put on display in museums, and our humanity and autonomy was persistently violated, with women being the main target of sexual violence by white slave masters and overseers, often producing biracial children who would then become the legal property of their white fathers. That said, black men were not safe from sexual violence either. Awful homophobic faux documentaries notwithstanding, the practice of sexual torture and humiliation of black male slaves, often referred to as buck breaking, was enacted upon black male slaves by both male and female masters alike. So no black body was safe during slavery. Yet, stories then and now about love affairs between slaves and whites are not rare. These stories often attempt to depict these love affairs as consensual and two-sided, greatly downplaying the obvious power imbalance between a black slave and a white slave owner. But the reality is that even if it wasn't an overt act of physical violence, any intimate contact between a slave and an owner was an act of assault, as these slaves literally had no right to bodily autonomy, thus they could not consent. The most well-known example of this mythology can be found in the story of Thomas Jefferson and Sally Heming. If you allow pop culture and TV to tell it, Sally Heming was a beautiful young biracial slave who beguiled Thomas Jefferson so much that they had a...
Now check out this real news article with astonishing headlines from Texas.
Texas GOP Executive Committee rejects proposed ban on associating with Nazi sympathizers and Holocaust deniers. What? Such a ban proposed 2 months after a prominent conservative activist was caught meeting with a famous white supremacist. Might be a slippery slope or too vague. What? So they want it to be okay to associate with Nazis and Holocaust deniers. Yeah, that makes sense. Thanks for the donation though, Ben. Shim donators, would you rather be born Mormon or Muslim? Mormon.
For most of the history of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints,
I'm not watching this. It's an hour something long, but
the church, if you wanted to leave.
Yeah, I think I'd rather be born
In other
Mormon.
parts of Asia, legal equality for the LGBT community in Indonesia. Or jail, the arrest.
That is pretty disgusting. Thanks for the donation, though, Shim.
Decades-long affair which produced multiple children. This relationship has been depicted in media multiple times, and in pretty much every case, it's implied that Hemings and Jefferson were in love, and that Hemings was more than a willing participant in this affair, and that Jefferson was torn between his heart and his duty as one of America's founding fathers. This, of course, is a pretty awful bleaching of the real history involved here. First and foremost, Hemings was technically the half-sister of Jefferson's wife, Martha Hemings, a product of the rape of Hemings' mother by English Captain John Hemings. Sally remained the property of that family in Virginia until she was 14, when she then accompanied Jefferson's daughter, also named Martha, to Paris, where Jefferson spent several years. That is where she began her romance with Jefferson, who at the time was 44. Hemings would have her first child in Paris at 16 and sire more children over the course of this relationship with Jefferson.
Dude, imagine making a fucking romantic movie about this when it's a grown man who's 44 raping a fucking underage teenage girl. How much of a fucking crackpot would you have to be?
Had the opportunity to be free in Paris, but agreed to stay with Jefferson due to her children technically being his property, and thus accompanied him back to Virginia. Ironically, even this romanticized, bleached version of the story was never told for a long time, considered unfounded rumors. It took generations to first have this relationship be acknowledged by many historians, and even then the black descendants of Thomas Jefferson were often excluded from his legacy until relatively recent. This was the reality of love affairs between slaves and slave masters during slavery. And after slavery ended, a slew of legal practices and not so legal social and cultural norms were put in place to maintain a rigid social hierarchy with black people at the bottom. The goal of most of these practices was to make it pretty much impossible for anyone black to be able to vote, own land, or hold certain licenses that might allow them to increase their lot in life. And as a result, black folks often set out to create and build communities amongst themselves where these laws and these barriers were not in place. Due to this separation, rarely was the issue of race mixing a legitimate thing to.
How are you so chill and never get jealous? I wish I had your sense of secureness.
I don't know. I don't know. Thanks for the donation, though. Relationship help.
Watch this.
When I will grow up, I will be army and save Pakistan and destroy India. I will be pilot. Strong army, wow, great. When I.
Well, that's good. Thanks for the donation, Big Booty Latina.
Worry about outside of a few isolated incidents. And this was because it was explicitly illegal, and not just illegal, but also basically punishable by death by way of mob violence. Lynchings, riots, and acts of white terrorism were the ever-present threat to black people who stepped out of line, especially black men who were mythologized as these insatiable sexual fiends who craved white flesh. It's important to remember that black people were never intended to be full participants in American society. It took another century, a full 100 years, to have it written into law that black people should be fully protected under the law, by way of voting rights, anti-lynching laws, and anti-discrimination laws, etc., because of the Civil Rights Bill of 1966. But even then, miscegenation or interracial relationships were still explicitly illegal until 1968. Anti-miscegenation laws were in place for the purpose of maintaining that hierarchy, to give a white monopoly on property rights so that the state could literally dissuade and punish the few white men who did want to take black women as wives and share their wealth and resources with them, which might create a situation down the line where black people might have legal rights to land ownership and capital that was expected to be permanently possessed by white people.
Mohammed Zaid, donate to stop spreading Islamophobic shit asshole. Islam is the most vegan religion, and we even slaughter most humane, painless methods to be halal. No. The most vegan religion would probably be Jainism.
Are Muslims allowed to be vegetarian?
Yes.
Are we allowed to be vegan?
Yes.
Are we allowed to be pescatarian?
Sure, I guess.
Are Muslims allowed to eat kosher?
Yes, so as long as it doesn't have any meat products or alcohol, kosher should be fine. For example, kosher ice cream should be fine.
Are we allowed to eat meat?
Yes, as long as it's hand slaughtered halal.
What about pork?
No.
What if I want a Big Mac from McDonald's?
In a non-Muslim country?
Yeah?
No.
Are Muslims...
Those people annoy me.
Kosher
What is this?
and halal
I've
dietary.
already seen this at 7 years old. Thanks for the donation, Mohammed Zayed.
Issue has never been about love, but about power and the role that racism plays in maintaining power. The core conflict of black people in interracial couplings is the same as the core problem of pretty much everything involving black people, which is the historical and persistent impact of racism on every facet of black life, including who you love and marry. In fact, especially who you love and marry. Black relationships overall are wrought with conflict, and interracial relationships have their own unique set of challenges because the experience of being black brings a vast array of baggage into the relationship. And this presents a problem to a lot of non-black would-be partners of black people. because their general lack of understanding about the Black experience can lead to a lot of misunderstandings with their partner. They don't know that previous history, or even if they do know it, they don't understand it, or they don't quite know how that history still impacts the way Black people move through the world today. But in general, most Black people are well aware of how this history impacts them. They may not get every aspect, but they may not be able to cite all the theories and authors and academics and whatnot, but they feel it internally. And this knowledge is kind of diffused over how Black people often perceive relationships, whether positive or negative in that perception. They're asking, is he with her because he values whiteness over everything? Is she with him for economic viability? Is he going to treat her right or exploit this power imbalance? Or do these folks just love each other and want to live their lives? In a perfect world, that last sentence will be the only one that pops into my brain when I see an interracial couple. But unfortunately, the history of racism in this country and the way that interracial relationships have often come into conflict with the Black experience makes that impossible. And all of that starts with the experience of slavery.
Chapter 2. It's a Black thing and you wouldn't understand. Okay, Feek, just a little.
Are you watching this to better understand what it's like to be a Palestinian in Israel proper? I'm proud of you, finally caring about human rights again. Faith in you restored.
No, I'm watching this because nobody's linked me anything better to watch. Thanks for that donation, Quest.
Little note on the titles here. I'm not sure I'm the best person to be reading these. It's up to you. But yeah, I just worry that maybe there's more appropriate people.
A Pew Research study in 2017 found that Black people are actually twice as disapproving of interracial relationships as white people. This may be shocking to some of you, probably because y'all don't know any Black people. Now, the reflex that some white folks will have at this information is to say, see, I told you Black people are the real racist, because that's what they do. Racists are.
Remember when you said that legalizing drugs would result in the war on drugs being solved? Well, they did that here in this city in your home country of Canada, and look what happened. More chaos and crime.
So, what's it called? Vancouver has always been a fucked up place for drugs. I don't know if it actually made anything worse. It certainly would help drive out organized crime, but I don't know if it had any actual impact on drug use. If anything, I would suspect just the way people use drugs would change if it's legalized. Worst case scenario, but I don't think that would actually have an impact on actual use. And the war on drugs has to do with organized crime. So I don't know. I haven't seen the statistics on organized crime. Thanks for the donation though, Voodoo.
Ironically spend a lot of time pointing at other people as the real cause of the racism. People who are often the victims of racism often are their targets. That's how affirmative action was killed. That's why in Florida or Texas, kids learned that slavery was not all that bad and it gave Black people good job skills. Now, it's not good that so many Black people are against interracial marriage, but that doesn't mean it has the same reasoning or outcomes. Like, there's not a history of Black people hanging white men from trees with their dicks cut off for whistling at a white woman. Still, in some sense, if you said Black people are more likely to be against interracial relationships than white people, there is some data to prove this, but more on that data later. The question is, why? Why is it genuinely different than the inverse situation? And why is the disparity there in the first place? And this is super hard to explain without going into a ton of Black history and African American studies, let alone things about Blackness that you can't learn from a book. But I realized I could do a relatively decent job tying a ton of different pieces of history and philosophy together by talking about one prominent modern figure. Whew. So brace yourself as I finally talk about the Prince of Pan-Africanism, the administrator of anti-miscegenation, one Dr. Umar Johnson. For those who are unaware, Dr. Umar Johnson is a popular Black political influencer with nearly 1 million followers on Instagram, a couple of hundred here on YouTube, and probably many more elsewhere. He does a lot of media appearances and public speaking and is known for a relatively niche brand of pro-black politics that he and others tend to refer as Pan-Africanism, though his brand of Afrocentric thought is more popularly referred to with the pejorative term Hotep. In fact, if you trace the etymology of the term Hotep as a pejorative, it probably goes back to Dr. Umar's rise in popularity in the early 2010s. And this is because Dr. Umar was instantly a divisive figure in black culture. Some loved him for his bombastic personality and relatively spot-on critiques of white supremacy and systemic racism, but many hated him or didn't take him seriously because he was also prone to wild takes that bordered on conspiracy theories and politics and ideologies that were regressive and exclusionary. He has conservative views on marriage, capitalism, gender, mental health, etc. And it's kind of frustrating because Dr. Umar managed to bring black radical politics to a large audience that it hadn't seen since probably the 1960s. But he took that black radical tradition in a direction that I would argue has not been very helpful. Dr. Umar will be like, schools overdiagnose black children and funnel them into special education programs because they're dominated by white-centered pedagogy. Pedagogy. Do I not know this word? Do I not know the word pedagogy? Because they are dominated by...
How are you feeling today, Mr. Richard? You seemed more upbeat yesterday compared to today. From a scale of 1 to 10, how depressed are you? Would you be willing to press a button to kill Destiny and remove him from this earth in order to save animals? Where is Vince?
So...
Violence is male degeneracy. And cheating and hypergamy are female degeneracy. Violence is removed from society, but female degeneracy is not. Under equal rights, men should be allowed to be violent since it's just male nature. That's equality.
Yeah, I disagree with that, but thanks for the donation-based vegan black pill. So, out of 10, how depressed am I? I guess about a 6 out of 10. Not having any suicidal ideation right now, but I'm feeling really sad. And tired. It's weird. The depression lately has just been making me super, super exhausted. So yeah, but yeah, I'd push a button to kill Destiny to save animals. Thanks for the donation, Voodoo. Mohammed Zayed, Johnny Tillers, FD is a racist piece of shit. Do you actually agree with any of this dribble yapping too much? He hasn't really made an argument yet, so...
Oh, this was when FD Signifier was talking about how much interracial people he's okay with in his media. This is FD when coming up with this take. True. Debate bro fans are racist and the online left is full of white people who don't know shit about black culture. Black culture of being anti-race mixing. It's always going to be the same thing. There's never going to be any like growth there or whatever. It's always going to be like, he just says right-wing shit. They all say right-wing shit. And then when you call them out, they're like, well, yeah, but I'm a minority. So the guy he screenshotted and called white was black too. Well, another thing they get to do is they get to say that you're white if you're black, because you're the only way you can really be black is to agree with them. It's the exact same thing that Nazis do, where they'll say that you're not really white if you do race mixing, or if you're like pro-Jewish or whatever. Like being real white means that you have to be a white supremacist. Exact same thing, same people, reactionary thought. I'm the only...
He hasn't really made an argument yet so far. Like, there's been some things I've disagreed with so far where he said he's not sure what to think when he sees interracial relationships. I don't know how it's any different with any other relationship. So that's one thing I guess I disagree with him on. But yeah, so far it's just being jibber jabber. Thanks for the donation though, Mohammed.
VG, I'm convinced of the ethical principles of veganism. I only have one reason I haven't switched. Say I eat 1 pound of bison per week from Giant. Doesn't Giant stock the store with the same number of bison packs per week regardless of my single purchase? Help.
No, they don't. So your purchase is likely going to contribute to more animals being killed. It's called supply and demand. So, no.
End the stream now and we can continue Black Enlightenment tomorrow.
Well, James, I would love to end the stream now and just relax, but I have bills to pay, so I think I will torture myself for a little while longer. Thanks for the donation, though, James.
White-centered pedagogy and lack cultural competency to teach black children.
The criteria, I'll give them to you now. Go ahead. Loses things necessary to get his work done. Okay. Acts like he's driven by a hand or motor. Taps with his hands and feet. Blurts out answers. Has difficulty sustaining attention. Loses things necessary to get his work done. Yeah. Has trouble playing quietly. First of all, what child plays quietly? Nobody. Second of all, do you know what I just described to you? I didn't describe to you a mental disorder. I described to you a normal black boy. The black boy doesn't have a problem learning. Right. He has a problem being mistreated by people who don't understand him.
Facts, Dr. Umar. This is all completely true. But then he'll be like, ADHD.
I don't know why that's black specific.
ADHD isn't real, and neither are learning disabilities.
ADHD is a weapon of mass destruction, and that other weapon of mass destruction is known as special education.
You can sit still. You know what I mean? So do you know what you're saying? You're telling me that ADHD don't exist, and that what they call ADHD is nothing more than the manifestation of a kid who is bored?
Whoa. Let's back up a few steps there. I don't want to litigate Dr. Umar's entire political take resume. Suffice to say, me and Dr. Umar have similar foundations of pro-black thought. We have read a lot of the same books and came up under similar traditions of analysis, but we reach very different endpoints in where that analysis takes us. For example, Dr. Umar is most known now for being vehemently against interracial relationships to a comedic degree. If you've seen his face on Twitter or TikTok, there's a strong chance because it's been under a post of some black dude with his white girlfriend.
What should you do if your son or daughter wants a white partner? Put them out the house. That's all. Put them out. Put their asses out. That's all you got to do. Put them out.
And even then, his issues with interracial relationships, if I look at the foundation of why Dr. Umar feels that way, I kind of get it. I would argue that the starting point of Dr. Umar's criticism is relatively uncontroversial among black people and very effectively couched in a black-centered analysis of the problem. The challenge, though, as I said a second ago, is where he takes it after that early point of analysis, and where he takes it is wrong on so many levels. We're going to start with Grace, though, because Dr. Umar is a very, very good media personality, and he is going to roast me if he sees this video. I'm not looking forward to it, but it is what it is.
You love your relaxer? Okay, it was no need for you to say that, though, my sister. Don't get cute. You have a right to be a Negropean, but you are on the Prince of Pan-Africanism's platform. Don't get cute.
So we're going to do a quick historical deep dive into the line of thought that Dr. Umar pulls from for these anti-race mixing beliefs. There's going to be some drive-by history here, so bear with me. As I said before, Dr. Umar calls himself the Prince of Pan-Africanism, but it's really more accurate to call Dr. Umar a Garveyite, as in following closely to the beliefs of one Marcus Garvey, one of the most prominent black thought leaders of the 1900s, and to many, the main pioneer of Pan-Africanism in America. But that's where we immediately have conflict. If you know the real history of Pan-Africanism, then you'll know that Dr. Umar's beliefs aren't all that aligned with the core of Pan-Africanist thought. Pan-Africanism is, at its core, a leftist, explicitly socialist political ideology. Along with that, anti-capitalist, anti-fascist.
What meds are you currently on? After this, please react to Blaha's recent video on veganism ethics.
I'm on lorazepam and I can't remember the other medication. Did Blaha just do a fucking video? Ethical vegans are okay if they are not dogmatic about the science side of the discussion.
Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and thought I would sit down and do a video for you guys and gals. Let me get a sip of my water. Dietary approaches. I tend to be very hard on both of these groups, and I want to be clear, I will always be hard on the carnivores because they are literal morons. Like, this is the most stupid thing I've ever heard of. It is literally the most stupid, asinine, ignorant diet.
How much to pay to get you to start dressing like Dr. Umar? I'm half two and I know you know what it's like for white girls to only want us for our race. Did it ever bother you having them jungle fever at you? Knowing you, probably not.
Don't know if any girls were fawning over me due to jungle fever, but don't really care. If you give me $500, I'll dress like Dr. Umar. Thanks for the donation, Quest.
You could possibly come up with. Medically, scientifically, it's just ludicrous. But I'm not going to throw keto into that same category. All right, the vegan thing. Here's my point with veganism. I actually really don't have a problem with veganism. All right, and I know it comes across that I do. My problem is with the dogmatic, irrational, unscientific side of veganism. Okay, the purely emotional side to where they're not willing to discuss logic. All right, an example. I don't have an issue with the ethical side. All right, I want to make that clear because that's people's personal, if it's well thought out personal ethics, okay. My issue is the dogma when vegans literally blame animal products for all obesity and health problems, as if vegans don't have heart attacks and cancer and obesity.
That's just a complete straw man. Obviously, there are diet-related issues that can lead to obesity, heart disease, diabetes, that don't have to do with animal products, so overeating specifically. But you can just look at the data. Vegans have lower risk of heart disease, they have lower risk of high blood pressure, lower risk of obesity. Like, clearly that type of eating pattern is more conducive towards health than including animal products in your diet.
You know, let's be realistic. That's just simply not true. They do. And it's not even at that low of a rate compared to people who follow more balanced, healthy diets. It really isn't.
You can read the Oxford vegetarian cohort. Vegans were the only diet group that had a lower, that had a statistically lower risk of all-cause mortality when compared to normal meat eaters. You can read the Adventist health studies. Again, vegans had the lowest risk of heart disease, diabetes, cancer. They lived longer compared to normal meat eaters. So, yeah, if they have better health outcomes, I don't know what to tell you. Like, vegans just have better health outcomes. Like, Blaha will admit himself, he's made several videos about this, people who eat the most amount of vegetables live the longest. Well, okay, vegans eat the most amount of vegetables, so, like, I don't know why this is so confusing for him and why it's so hard for him to admit.
When they can step back and admit, okay, animal products are not the source of all problems. Because, I mean, let's be clear.
That's a complete straw man.
Refined fructose is pretty damn high on the list. And that is technically entirely a plant source food. The literature.
Yeah, so this is a complete straw man. Like, vegans aren't claiming the only fucking health problems that exist in the world are due to animal products. Like, again, overeating specifically, ultra-processed foods, like, yeah, high fructose corn syrup. Like, all those things can be bad for you. Alcoholism, like, alcohol itself is vegan at least. There's a lot of alcoholic beverages that are vegan-friendly. Like, yeah, those things are bad for you, and they're not related to animal products specifically, but he's just making a complete straw man.
Very clearly shows that excess refined fructose is responsible for enormous amounts of health problems. Okay, perfect example. When they have the mindset that because it's vegan, it's automatically healthy, so they'll eat
Another straw man. So just because something's vegan, it doesn't make it healthy. Oreos are vegan. They're not healthy.
these garbage piles of fake meats.
There is no evidence showing that fake meat is responsible for increased risk of chronic disease. No evidence. He's just mentioning a food product where there's no evidence behind the idea that they're bad for you.
Instead of just saying, you know what, maybe I should just have some tofu or something. Because you know what? Tofu is perfectly healthy, and it's a perfectly viable source of protein. All right.
So are mock meats.
I mean, great, no problem. You want to eat tofu for your protein and some of your omega-3s? I have no issue with that. It's perfectly it is viable. It's viable. Okay? Animal products are not the source of all obesity and problems. Vegan.
Okay, so he's just straw manning vegans the entire time. This is just... everything's boring me right now.
Fascist and anti-authoritarian. This was due to its real origins as a congress of leaders across the African diaspora across the world, all trying to organize to help decolonize the African continent as well as liberate black populations across the globe. It was born of the influence of Patrice Lumumba after he won independence for the Congo and was quickly thereafter assassinated by the Belgian government, likely with support from the CIA, partially because it was suspected he was seeking aid and support from Russia during the Cold War. Andrewism has a great video overview on Pan-Africanism for more details, but the key takeaway though is that Garvey wasn't as big a player in the Pan-African movement as many tend to believe. As I said in the Black Conservatives video, the legacy of black leftist thought and counterintelligence toward black radical traditions has erased much of the truth of Pan-Africanism as a black leftist ideology. So if you ask most Americans about who the major figure of Pan-Africanism is, and if you were to say who is the most significant figure in radical black thought in America, they would say Marcus Garvey. And while Marcus Garvey is a revered and iconic figure in African-American political thought, he also has a ton of baggage which manifests in where we see Umar right now. In reality, Garvey was much more right-leaning than the rest of the movement and constantly came into conflict with W.E.B. Du Bois, who was actually the biggest figure in Pan-Africanism within America. Garvey and Du Bois clashed on many fronts, exchanging scathing editorials about each other in the papers. One of the major points of contention were Garvey's, even for the time, extreme positions on race and race mixing.
I don't fucking care.
Even
watch some train vids.
I'm not really in the mood for train vids, James, so I don't think we'll watch any train vids. But thanks for the suggestion. Thanks for the donation, dude.
Oh my god, he's quoting the Griper memes.
If I want to be on the right side of history 99% of the time, the easiest way to do this is just to not agree with anything the United States government is telling me.
Violently tortured toddlers for crimes.
Oh, Jesus Christ! I feel like the thing that bothers me so much, Hassan makes several crucial errors in the report.
Kaizen Mixed Donate Tellers, hey man, know you feel like shit at the moment, but I want you to know that you're important to me and probably also important to the people watching your stuff. My favorite thing about your stuff is getting tons of info about random shit, so thanks man. Well, I appreciate it, dude. Thanks for the support and the donation.
reporting. Okay, you read a headline and it's a bad headline, but you kind of like confirmation, right? It's like, oh, Israel, tortures kid in prison to extract confession. Okay, fine. Let's say you just report that. Wow, he tortures a kid in prison to extract confession. Fine. You've committed an epistemic flaw. You're trusting headlines, whatever. You didn't fact check. That's one thing, right? But it's not just that. It's that he reports incorrectly. He doesn't fact check any of the underlying material, and then off of his lack of fact checking and bad reporting, he hyperbolizes. Now it's not just a 13-year-old was tortured until he confessed falsely to a crime. Now it's Israel wants to torture toddlers. Although that's really hard to say for the Gaza Strip. I don't know if that's true for Gaza.
There are a lot of people in Gaza who do not like Hamas, who are not part of Hamas.
Is that true? Because
I don't understand why. Oh God, this is like. I don't understand why he takes this position when like it's not that hard to find evidence to contradict this statement. Like,
then find it. What? Oh, he's gonna show it then, right? There actually is a good way to contradict this statement. There is a good way. There's one good way to contradict the statement. Let's see if Hassan knows it, okay? There is one good way. He won't know it, though, because the one good way to know why my statement might not actually be true kind of contradicts his narrative. But let's see if he's got it, okay?
Guy, every time I see clips of Destiny, it's always like very confident, but also confidently unsure.
Oh, it's just this clip. Well, I just want to see if he shows the evidence.
Because he's like channeling State Department propaganda, it oftentimes is just left unnoticed. Like people don't look at it and go, wait, what do you mean? You're not really sure? Okay, well, how about you get sure? Like you could look it up, right? And he always invokes.
Then he's going to look it up, right? Well, then look it up.
It's plausible deniability so that people can turn around and go, yeah, well, he said he was not necessarily sure. And I don't really understand it. Like there is a way that you can become sure. There is polling that is done consistently.
Like polling that shows how many people in the Gaza Strip support October 7th? Or what polling are you going to bring up, Hassan? I know he's not going to bring up the one poll that says like 92% of people don't support Hamas because it's 92% of people believe that Hamas is not doing a good job running the Gaza Strip. I know it's not just going to be that one number that could have to do more with administrative issues than anything to do with like terrorism or Islamic jihadism or any of that shit. I know Hassan's got more than just that one number, right? I know he's not just going to pull that number out, right? Let's see what he does.
Right? You can do that. I don't know. I mean, this is like, I haven't kept up at all with what Destiny has said about this stuff, with the exception of like...
Well, we can tell because you're watching like a month-old video, but...
Not knowing anything, demonstrably anything about Israel or Palestine.
Good one, Hassan. We can't all be JDAM experts like you. Wow, Ronald Pant, thanks for the $20.
Immediately popping off with the pro-genocide sentiment and then working his way back to basically a two-state solution, as far as I understand, by reading a bunch of Wikipedia pages that gave him the self-assurance, while still simultaneously being lost on so many of the other very important, tangential, but albeit very important.
He is going to show it and look it up, right? He just criticized me for not looking up and having the answer, right? He is going to show it eventually, right? After he poisons the...
20-minute mark. He posted all the apps for free.
Let me take a look.
The grossest, most disgusting person we know. That's not very nice. Do you agree?
How much would you need to end the stream?
How about $200? Thanks for the donation, James.
Yeah, but that's not very nice. I want it right over the cracker, as much as you can. All of it.
How about some stomach crunches, Bobby?
That's enough.
There's a lot of pubic hair there. Kenny, there's a lot of pubic hair there.
On top of the cracker. Are you ready for your pubiscuit?
No, I'm not ready. How could I ever be ready for this?
Don't shake anything off. You lift up the cracker, you eat it, you chew it, you swallow it.
How do you even think of these things? Honestly, you could put me in a think tank for 6 years. I wouldn't come up with eating some guy's pubes. Okay, I think this is the worst one I've ever done. Ever! And I've done a lot of them. Come on, I need to concentrate. Can you back the cameras off a bit? Okay, here we go. 1, 2.
Do it! No, put it in your mouth! Put it in your mouth! Oh, no, back in your mouth! Back in your mouth!
No! Not happening!
Do it! Chew it up!
I can't.
Do it! You gotta put it back in your mouth! Put it back in your mouth! Sit down! Put it back
Well, that is disgusting. Thanks for sharing that quest.
them no bad. Hey. Shooters when I have computer pad. The motherfucker that me get that stabbing on my pocket. It go with a turn mad man. They be living in a box. You must have blood clot mad.
You wish you could do it like a girl. Do it like a
This is getting too weird. Time to go to bed.
Well, thank you, James. Very generous of you. Appreciate the support, sir. Guess it is my bedtime now. Well, hopefully tomorrow I'll be in a better mood. So, I'll see you all tomorrow around the same time. But big thanks to everybody who donated in Streamlabs, especially you, James. Thanks again. And I'll see you all tomorrow, and I'll try to decompress so I'm a little more cheerful. But nighty-night, everyone.